In the first part of this course, I taught you how we can find the largest value we can store in an integer. Do you remember? We used the numeric limits class. Now look, this class is defined as a template. So here in angle brackets, we specify a generic type argument like int. Then, using the scope resolution operator, we can access the static members of this class. So we can call the max method to get the largest value we can store in an integer. Now, the first time I showed you this line of code, perhaps this syntax was kind of confusing. But now that you understand static methods, now that you understand the scope resolution operator and templates, everything is crystal clear. So now let's see how we can define a generic class from scratch. So in our project, we're going to add a new class called pair. In this class, we're going to store a key value pair. So just like before, we start with a basic implementation, then we convert this to a template class. So let's say the key is going to be a string and the value is going to be an integer. Now let's convert this to a class template. So just like before, we type the template keyword. Now in angle brackets, we specify our type parameters. So here we need two parameters, one for representing the key, the other for the value. So type name k and type name v, just like the previous lesson. Now we're going to replace the string with k and the integer with v. As simple as that. Now, there is a limitation with class templates. The limitation is that our method definitions have to be in this file. So we cannot put them in the CPP or implementation file. There is a way around it, but it's kind of like a hack. It's ugly and it has a bunch of problems. So I'm not going to cover it in this course. So let's see how we can generate a constructor for this class. So I'm going to bring up the generate palette by pressing Command and N on Mac or Control and N on Windows. Now, we're going to select both the key and the value. Now, by default, generate in place is selected. So when we click OK, CLion is going to generate the constructor inline. So look, here's the constructor and the implementation is right here. So this is an inline constructor. Now, earlier I told you that we should not pollute the interface of this class with implementation details. So let me show you a better way. I'm going to undo the changes. Now let's generate a constructor one more time. So we select the key and the value, but now let's untick generate in place. See what happened? Here's our constructor, and this is defined in our header file. So it's not in the implementation file. It's placed at the bottom of this file. So over here in the class, we only have the declaration. The implementation is down here. Now our class is declared as pair of k and v. Here we have the scope resolution operator. Then we have the constructor with its parameters. And then we have the initialization of our attributes. Now above the constructor definition, we have the template declaration. This is the same declaration used up here. Okay. Now let's also generate a getter for these attributes. So getter for key and value. Make sure generate in place is not ticked. Good. So just like the constructor, the type of our class is pair of k and v. And above each method definition, we have the template declaration. Okay. Now let's see how we can use this in the main file. So first we include the pair header file. Now, if we create a pair and initialize it with a string and an integer, the compiler will generate a pair class where the key is a string and the value is an integer. So just like function templates, if we don't use a class template, the compiler is not going to generate any code in our executable.